Welcome to Satya, your podcast on spirituality and on spiritualizing your daily life. My name is Sana and I will be your host. Today I will be speaking with Nicolae Catrina about the godly attributes, the subtle, sublime, fundamental energies of the universe. Nicolae Catrina is a yoga teacher with more than 30 years of experience. 2 decades ago, he founded the only Kashmir Shaivism course available in Europe, which offers the richness and profoundness of this spiritual tradition in a unique way, adapted to Western mentality. His deep interest for various forms of authentic spirituality and his spiritual intuition have helped him elaborate over time a series of initiatic courses, such as Tantric Alchemy, Enneagram, or Esoteric I Ching. He also created a unique system for the revelation of the essential self, Atman. Nicolae Catrina is also the author of many books on the topic of Shaivism, yoga, tantra, alchemy, initiatic art, etc. He has translated many imported yogic and tantric texts such as Sundarya Lahari, Shiva Samhita, and Gerhanda Samhita. Welcome. I invited you today mainly to speak about godly attributes, but I also wanted to start, like I start most of the episodes, with the question, what does spirituality mean for you? So that the listeners get a little bit of an insight of where you are in this regard.
Well, for me, a spiritual life means, we may say, truly living. True spirituality, for me, is seeing, viewing, living everything through God's eyes, and is to also to realize that everything is worth seeing, because you see everything through God's eyes. It's not just you. This is a spiritual life. And that means you are paying attention totally in the here and now. And you can see, really see what is right in front of you. And moreover, this helps us to create intimacy with what is happening, with the ones you are talking with the trees that we are seeing, you with everything. And that intimacy, it's so enchanting because it sparks awareness of the mystery, of meaning, of lots of what we can say God's attributes in exactly what might seem to be or is for the vast majority a mundane or even banal reality. So spirituality to me is living with God all around, is to connect our everyday experience, exactly what we are doing right here and right now, with God or with some attributes of God. We just stop everything for a moment. And we see that each and every moment, when fully experienced, becomes a gateway out of the realm of time and into the realm of not only timeless awareness, but towards the realm of lots and lots of attributes of God. So, true spirituality is something very concrete. It's not some, say, metaphysical, distant, or very intellectual thing, or something devoid of the possibility of living it right now and right here. On the contrary, true spirituality is connecting to yourself, connecting to the others, connecting to everything. And actually, this is the very meaning of word yoga. Yoga is connection. So yoga basically is relationship. You enter into a relationship with something, with someone, and well, you can. It's not enough for being truly a yoga, but you can transform any connection into a yoga, and this is where comes my my understanding and my feeling about what spirituality is. And there is also something else. Spirituality means, or is characterized, rather said, by a complete different quality of our attention, of our awareness, more precisely. And this is why various life situations can become really wonderful teachers for us, for each of us. Because, well, beneath the surface, every life situation expresses various attributes of God. And as teachers, the teachings they offer are both simple and so profound. They actually tell us pay attention and walk through the world, through your life with transfiguration, with reverence, with wonder. And they also tell us look closely, look closely to it, because you need to open you, and you can discover in both the extraordinary experiences that you can have, but even more closely have to look to the so-called ordinary ones, the ones that all the others are considering to be banal. And they also teaches us to treat everyone with respect, to all beings, to love everyone, and the earth, and the planet, the animals, and everything that exists. And not only to love them, but to realize that you are not actually completely separated from them, as you might think at first, and to listen to what all of them um, they have to tell us. So true spirituality is basically daily life as a integral way of uniting with to God.
So beautiful. You mentioned the godly attributes. How can you say a bit more about them? Like explain them a little bit deeper, and if they come from a certain tradition or.
Well, yes, this is not a new concept, first of all. We can find very clear mentions and examples as well of God's attributes in many traditions, like in Sufism or in Kabbalah, or of course in the Christian tradition. They are even studied, and they are expressed in several ways. But we can find the attributes in Tantra as well. For instance, there is among the most famous treatises from the Tantric tradition, there is one called the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. And in this treatise, there are sutras containing practices based on God's attributes. So they were new and used as a spiritual tools or paths from since many years, or hundreds, or maybe thousands of years. What can be described now as being new or very special as a discovery is their multitude and their role, their closeness. this is the best word, closeness. They are not just distant and only transcendental realities. They are part of my life or of your life, of everything we do. So, if you want to talk more, a bit more about these attributes, well, basically, each of them is a specific but complete in itself path to God. And of course, you may say, but these are just words defining something beyond words. Yes, they are words. We may say love, we may say wisdom, we may say eternity, and so on. Yes, they are only words, only labels. But nevertheless, they have the power to orientate the mind, the consciousness, my brother said, in the direction of what they mean. So, in a way, these words describing the attributes of God both reveal and conceal God. Why they reveal? Because they are like pointers. Go into that direction and you'll find God on this particular path. God is like, in this analogy, like a diamond having so many faces. Each face, it's an attribute. So go and you discover the same God, but from this angle. But they also conceal God, because if we are stuck in endless intellectual analysis and understanding only mentally, that is a dead end, because instead of being as they are pointers, they become a sort of destination, which they are not. So this is the main, well, danger, so to speak, in practicing with attributes. But otherwise, it's just life. I mean, when you look at this world, what you see, you may see beauty, you may see love, you may see joy, you may see wisdom, courage, strength, and so on. So we all feel very absorbed, very attracted, very drawn into some of such qualities. We may feel inspired by them. So what I'm saying is there is always a link between what we see or perceive and what we feel right now in every moment, every given moment, and the reality, the transcendental reality of God's attributes. And also, there is the same link there is between our current experiences and our true or ultimate nature or self, which is Atman in Sanskrit terms. There is always this link because the link is provided exactly by the attributes of God. So, why we love each other? Because there is this link uniting our love, human, limited, or tainted by some ego's tendencies and so on, with God's perfect love. Why are we inspired by, let's say, um, endlessness of space? Because there is the attribute of infinity, which is very close to us as well and inspires us, gives us something. So when you look, let's say, at the empty space, the vastness of space, you don't see the infinity, of course, but you feel something. You have a glimpse. You have um, you have a taste, a flavor of what infinity really is. So the attributes are not something external or something artificially put on top of our life. They are structuring, they are part of our life. So they are representing God. Without attributes, God exists, yes, but we have no clue how to connect to God. If there are no qualities, nothing for our understanding. And that is why throughout the history, throughout the spiritual history of humankind, we have all sorts of God's hypostases or divinities, deities, or godly beings, and so on. And what they have names. Well, these names are not actually proper names, as John Smith or something. They are qualities. They mean something. For instance, the word Shiva. It's not a word. I mean, it's not a name. It's a quality. Means literally in Sanskrit, blessing or kindness, goodness. Same Vishnu, for instance, means omnipresence, means something that is everywhere, and so on and so. Brahma means the immensity, the immense creative power, and so on. So these names are meant to be for us a kind of reminders that God has attributes, and these attributes are right here. We can connect to them. But even our names, I'm not talking about the family name, although even the family names usually mean or used to mean something. In general, the names or the spiritual names, they have a meaning. They have a profound meaning, which allows us. They allow us to know better ourselves, our soul, and to represent God in a better way from our specific perspective. How? By identifying ourselves with the meanings of such names. So the attributes are, as I said, they are best understood as direct ways to God. The most direct, the most intimate, if you like, way to connect to God. For instance, again, God exists in the act of blessedness, of love, of beauty, and so on. And we define God. God is good. We say God is beautiful. God is transcendent, and so on. So all these definitions are attributes, and they cannot be understood as having a certain beginning. That would be absurd. Just think a bit of this idea. The eternity begins in that moment. This is totally absurd because if it is eternity, there is no beginning and no end, obviously. So these essential qualities of God are not separated, really, from God. It's like we have limbs, we have face and nose and eyes. Our body is this. We can define body parts, but they are functioning together. They are, I mean, the body is the body parts all together. God is all the attributes all together. However, as in Vedanta and Tantra, they say there is God with attributes, and that image of God is closer to us because we can relate to it. Sa guna Brahman, it is in Sanskrit. Sa means with, and guna means qualities, meaning attributes. But there is also another facet of God called Nirguna Brahman, God without attributes. Not because God wouldn't have any attribute, but because this is the ultimate or the supreme, let's say, form or existence of God that we don't have really access through any attribute in a direct way. It transcends even these qualities because God exists before we are able to conceive that He is, let's say, merciful or just or wise and so on. Nonetheless, these attributes are our conceptions by which, when I say, yes, our finite consciousness attempts to grasp the endless, the infinite, consciousness of God. So they are, on one way, they are modalities that we distinguish in God, but they are not actually something different or distinctive in God. They are just, we may say, our distinctive, no, our way of relate ourselves to God, because this multiplicity of attributes, is all about how we see things, how we relate to God. Because all of them belong to God, eternity, omnipresence, and so on. But we ourselves are not separate from God. So our senses, our thoughts, our concepts, they create our beliefs. Our beliefs create our reality. And based on such very inaccurate information, we form inaccurate beliefs, which showed us or guide us to an inaccurate reality. For instance, if we relied only on our senses, we believe that the earth is flat, right? Or the whole universe is rotating around the earth. But when we received better information, we changed these beliefs. Similarly, because of our senses, we think, we believe we are the body. But we also see the boundaries of our bodies, and we believe we are totally separate entities, separate from the rest of life, separate from God, separate from God's attributes. But these beliefs are inaccurate, like the ones that made us to think the earth is flat. So these beliefs create a false reality. So to undo all that, we need liberating beliefs, true truth. We need the access to the truth, and that truth may run sometimes counter perceptions, may not be very obvious, but it opens a door to God. So these such liberating beliefs are coming to us when we are entering into communion with each and every attribute of God, because we have the experience, and all these all our old beliefs that which are like guardians in front of our awareness, and they don't let in something that is this is contrary to them, so they are rejected. No, I don't believe that, we say. So all these beliefs are totally shattered by a direct experience, and the most the simplest way to have such direct experiences is to connect to the attributes, because there is always a link, as I said, between what we do or feel or express or manifest right here and what is there in God's reality.
When I hear you speak like this about the attributes, it almost sounds like it's a gift from God for us to discover Him.
Yes, indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, it's one of the most important revelations ever, because it offers us um, the most direct way, the most intimate way to connect to God and to life and to ourselves and to everybody else. And actually, life, when we see when we walk through life, um, having a state of connection with various attributes, life might be may continue to be challenging, yes, for everyone. because its circumstances keep changing. However, the suffering will will be eradicated because suffering is the inability of our ego to accommodate these changing circumstances. But connecting to God through His attributes, we will systematically cultivate a different attitude because each attribute gives us a new perspective, a new attitude, which accommodates changing circumstances wisely, which helps us to avoid confusion and to avoid suffering.
I just would like to go back to something you said earlier about how
Okay?
we can sometimes, that there's this obstacle that we can um, stop this connection with the attribute by making it very philosophical.
Yes, exactly.
Like, how can we like not do that? Like, what is the way of staying connected with the attribute rather than to analyze it or?
Well, it goes as with everything else. It's like we are talking, let's say, about love. Now, we all know that love, you can talk a lot about love, but feeling love, being in love, is not the same as talking about love. Same with the attributes. So it's no big difference. And actually, none. There is no difference at all. Because as we all know the difference, and we all know how to avoid to being stuck in just philosophizing on courage, on eternity. It's like the experience that matters. So we have two distinct ways in the tantric Shaivism. They are called the two ways of knowledge, the true knowledge. So there is, on one hand, there is the superior, we may call it even supramental knowledge. It is supramental, but still it works with concepts, it works with understandings, it works with intuitions, and it's a very profound knowledge, but it's not that analytical, intellectual knowledge. This knowledge is good because it gives us at least a glimpse of reality. It puts us in contact with reality. But there is another form of knowledge which completes this knowledge equation, so to speak, which is the existential one, which is not carried by words or concepts, by but by states, by a direct taste of what you want to know. So they go hand in hand. They're going together and they cannot be separated. When you have just one, it's not enough. So, in order to make sure you'll never be stuck into endless analytical philosophies about the attributes, you need to have them both, understanding and experience. Well, without understanding, the experience might be tricky. Why? When you don't know exactly how uh, to make sense of all that you are experiencing, you might be deluded by some secondary perceptions or by some clever guys telling you, "Oh no, you are wrong, man. You don't know actually. I will tell you, and I give you with arguments, philosophical ones." So you might be convinced by some other persons, very intelligent, but without your experience. But the other way around is also incomplete if you have just the understanding and you don't have the experience. So you very easily can slip into dry knowledge, see, and intellectual dissertations about each and every attribute.
I was also wondering about some of the attributes. They may seem more feminine attributes or more masculine attributes, like you mentioned beauty or courage. Like, is this true, or is it the same for men and women to work with different attributes? Or
Well, each and every attribute can be felt, can be expressed, and can offer a complete path to God to anyone, regardless the gender. However, yes, we might say that there are various affinities. For instance, in the Sufi tradition, yes, there is a knowledge of attributes. They are defining them in two fundamental ways. They say they can manifest themselves as masculine and feminine, and they used to express the two polarities uh, by two generic attributes. Actually, they call them attributes, but they also call them names, God's names. But the name, it's a quality here. It's not a proper name. It's a quality. It's an attribute. And these two generic attributes are beauty. In Arabic, it's al-jamal. It's beauty. And this God's beauty. The God's beauty inspires love and life, expression. It's an expression of God's immanence. It's right here. It's the feminine side of God, you may say. And this is the generic attribute. So there are many others grouped in this half. The other half is masculine, and the generic attribute is called in Arabic yeah, Al Jalal, meaning God's majesty, and this arouses awe and respect and transcendence. So it has a masculine polarity. However, there is also a median line of attributes, and this median line is understood in the Sufi tradition as a unity between the two polarly opposite ones. And this the generic attribute defining all the series of this so-called unity or neuter or polarity-less, so to speak, attributes is al-kamal, meaning perfection, the perfection. Kamal means the al is the article, as we say the perfection, al-kamal. But besides such perspective, each and every attribute can be equally and successfully used as a path and vehicle towards God, regardless you are a woman or a man. So it's not at all. There is no not a restriction, no differences, basically. I mean, it's just maybe at first glance they are more feminine and more masculine, but remember, all of them are body parts, so to speak, body parts of God. So God is neither masculine or feminine; is beyond all them. So it's also again and again our personal way to relate to such attributes, such realities that transcends polarity. However, we need to put a label, to put a word, to define a little bit in order to have an idea, to have a pointer. And then we follow the path that the pointer is showing us.
and when we are going through our daily life, and maybe we don't have this perfect way of, you know, how you mentioned in the beginning, of seeing life through God's eyes, and you know, we just get lost in our duties. And how do we know when we enter into this resonance with the godly attribute? Are there like certain cues or pointers that can help us to see
Um,
this?
No, actually, Sana, this is this is the easiest way. I mean, it's way easier than to identify how you relate to some esoteric concepts in Tantra, yoga, Christianity, and so on. Because these attributes are our life. When you feel love, for instance, doesn't matter if you know or don't know about the attribute of God's love, you are in communion with such attribute. Maybe not only with that, or maybe your communion is not perfect and it's soiled by some egos, strategies, and so on. But this is another story. So what I'm saying is we are resonating anyway because this means to live. From where have we reached these qualities, or this the only source for any qualities and any emotion and so on is God. Now, when the ego distorts or bring such God's impulses into a very difficult to recognize form, well, this is ego's doing. But what enters into our being is initially pure. And when we are, in a way or another, able to connect to that initial purity, we have a pure state of communion. And we say, I just fell in love with somebody, and I'm feeling very brave now, or I have a brilliant idea, and so on. That is the effect of your communion with such energy. There is also a very beautiful verse, and I know it by heart. It's so beautiful. It's very short, from the Sufi tradition. Is that from Rumi? I don't know actually who said it, but he said like that. It goes like this: wherever you look, there is the face of God. This is our life when we discover God everywhere. And how can we discover? By realizing his qualities, by realizing how close he is to us. And there is another verse which is from Rumi, this is for sure. Rumi said about, how to connect, how to find, because this is your question, how to find the godly attributes, how to make sure that they impact your life or they are here in your life. Rumi said, remember, um, yeah, God is your lover, not your jailer. So this is a complete different perspective. You are meant to trust the universe, to trust life, because it's God's creation, and God is everywhere in your life and in every other's life. How? Through his attributes.
Sometimes I notice that there's this seeking for high states through very intense practice, but actually realizing this, that we can just meet God in every moment, makes life so much more precious.
Exactly. And you see what, yeah, you have a very good point here, because even the attributes, they may trigger sudden awakenings. You suddenly have a thrill or something. But in order for them to have a stable impact, we need to practice with them. We need a period of practice. Um, Usually, normally we live in delusion, in our ego's ideas about realities. And we take them to be reality. And we see everything from the point of view of the ego. So everything else appears separate or apart. But under the surface, although in our ignorance we don't see that we are one with everything, we don't see the deeper level of reality. Under this ignorance, there is the reality. So yes, what we need is not to find new and new sophisticated and complex techniques and methods. What we need is to put your heart there, because like this, in this way, you break through the surface, and you break through that circle, because all of us, as long as we live at the ego's level, we draw a circle around me, and everything outside the circle may threaten this bubble. So we create our belief system from everything that we have learned and experienced, and our view of reality is made up of all the concepts, beginning with this fundamental one, our circle. I am a separate entity. And every attribute, every quality of God is a line crossing that circle. It enters the circle, but it goes way beyond the circle. So it's a way out. It's our way out. And there's not just one. So the key here, the secret, so to speak, is to discover such lines of getting out of our bubble, our ego circle. And all of us, each of us, we have specific affinities with some attributes. That's why you are more attracted to some qualities than to others. So it's a very personal path, and also it's a very general one, because the same attributes can manifest in countless ways.
I was reading the other day that we are actually the ones, and also you already mentioned this, like we are the ones blocking this resonance with the attributes. What is the most efficient way to
unblock it?
Yeah.
Well, what I mean, in a way, I just answered
Yeah.
when I was telling about the fundamental step of the ego. The ego it believes that it's the center of the universe, and it draws a circle around you. This is me, and the rest is not me, and it could be threatening. So the best way to undo such self-limitation is to have the courage to get out of this circle, which is your comfort zone. Every time when you have a call, because all of us, we are called by God, by attributes, by various divinities and so on, or names of God, to get out of there, to get out of our comfort zone, to explore the unknown. And this is the fundamental call of what they call the heroic journey of each and everyone. So answer to that call and trust life, that even if you are not in that comfort or certainty area, you may do very well in uncertainty. The ego is terrified by uncertainty or the lack of control. So we need to dare to be brave enough to accept uncertainty as part of life, which actually is. Actually, the certainty of the ego is just an illusion of certainty. What are you doing when you fall in love? You get out of your bubble and you dare to open your circle to another human being. which might be threatening. You see so many bad movies, B type of movies that thrillers. That they want to cheat you or to kill you and so on. So we have some reasons to believe why what am I doing, why am I doing here, why maybe I will suffer again and so on, and still you have the courage to fall in love again, although you did suffer, you had suffered before and so on. So see, this is life, nothing else.
Mhm. What is your own experience with the attributes? Like, how did you first discover them? And also, when you realize, like, okay, this is a full communion with this specific attribute, or
Well, it is exactly as you would- you asked, what is your relation with your Atman. So until you reveal your Atman, you talk about Atman as something in the future. I will find myself. I will discover myself, as if you are some object that may be lost. But after you found yourself, after you revealed your true nature, you realize that you were never something else. You are never different. So there is no beginning. Actually, it's just in your mind until you get there. So same with the attributes. So well, after, let's say, let's go back to the attribute of love. When you discover that love is not just human emotion, but it's also a God's attribute, you realize that this was always like that. It's not for the first time that right now love became an attribute. No, it was always, but you didn't recognize it. And that's why there are so many practices and even spiritual traditions based mostly on just recognizing what is right in front of us. The path of recognition, this pratyabhijna in Sanskrit, it's a whole and complete spiritual path based on recognizing God in your life. And how do you recognize God? You can't recognize something outside everything. You recognize the fingerprints of God here, which are the attributes. You recognize the links between your human experiences and the corresponding attributes guiding you and leading you, bringing you to the source, which is always God. So it's a different way of describing um, as comparing with how you might ask at first. It is not the same perspective, and you are not the same person when you are there with when you were in your previous state, not knowing much and just trying to figure out what is with these attributes.
I have a feeling this might be a bit of a silly question, but do you have a favorite attribute?
Uh, Question. It's just a question. And well, I all of us, all of us, we have affinities, and as we are built with some components more developed than others. So yes, there are such affinities in every situation, but I don't. It's not just one attribute. To say, look, this is the one, and I will only all my life. I can. I mean, as a personal thing, I can tell you that beauty is for it's to me, one of the most important energy in life, and it's like a guiding thread in life situations in general. And that is why actually I was very, very attracted all the time, and even inspired to create a sort of yoga of beauty based on such discoveries, revelations, and my own experiences about that. And of course, a tradition, because it's a tantric practice. I didn't invent it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So you might say, but you are more feminine, right? Because you just that Buddhist. So now I'm the living proof that is not
Yes.
so
Yeah.
easy to. I mean, it's always not recommended to classify and to label. Leave it be.
Because that brings us back to the philosophical way.
Right.
Yeah.
And it gives you the false knowledge and the false certainty that you know, but in quotes, you know.
Thank you for your time.
You're
Your
welcome,
wise
Anna.
words.
Okay. And yeah, thank you for inviting me to this podcast. And I hope many, many insights and many good and excellent things will come up after.
I hope so too.
Right.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Personally, I felt very inspired by his view on spirituality and on the godly attributes. For the link to his website and also other useful links, check out the description. And if you enjoy this podcast, then of course make sure to subscribe. And now it is time for you to go and live your life in a spiritual way, seeing the world through God's eyes and with the presence of the godly attributes.